Hello, and welcome to the second session of The Lab, Making Sense of Immersion in 2021. You're getting a very real-time experience of me being in New York if you're hearing any sirens outside, but you know what? Hello from all over the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. This series is a bunch of really interesting institutions and people representing them talking about what the future is for mixed reality and museums, from curation to distribution, to how we talk about it so that audiences, consumers, patrons all understand what we're doing when we move forward with exhibitions, when we move forward with building and creating the future of technology and art. Today, we're going to talk about specifically distribution for immersive artworks in museums. I'm Darragh Dandurand, and I am so happy to host this second episode in a three-part series alongside several wonderful institutions I'm about to introduce. A bit about me. I'm a creative director and a strategist. I've worked for companies like Refinery29, Vice, Verizon, the New Museum, Buckco, a creative studio, Sensorium, and Superbright to advocate for immersive and emerging technology in order to bring wonderful campaigns and experiences to consumers new to new tech. I'm also a journalist covering immersive technology around the world, and I really love to focus on fashion and e-commerce and really interesting ways in which creatives are trying to blend technology to build the future. And lastly, I am also very excited to tell you I curate shows, and I love to work with different museums and institutions to bring interesting artists to the forefront to have new conversations in new ways. All that to say, this program has been initiated by We Are Museums, an online community of museum change makers leading through change, and Museum Connections, an international trade fair focusing on the business of sustainable challenges for museums, cultural institutions, and touristic venues. Museum Connections highlights trends and innovations to imagine the new visitor's experience. The next event in this series, their next event for Museum Connections will take place in Paris, France in May. For the Lab series, We Are Museums connected with key actors from across the fields in museums and technology to join forces. These include the cultural services of the French Embassy. As part of the program French Immersion, the French Embassy has launched a study on how to fund and distribute immersive experiences. The study is conducted by the US crowdfunding platform, the Kaleidoscope Fund, that has built a global network of over 20,000 top VR creators and industry leaders. Also, the Pixii Festival, a French festival that features an exhibition of the most innovative stories and digital installations. And Fabbula, a cultural practice and observatory dedicated to the idea of worlding with digital media, virtual reality, open worlds, and online streams. This program has the ambition to create a safe space for a dialogue for the key actors of VR and immersive industry that are working hard with cultural institutions to unpack and unlock the main challenges still existing. There are three 30-minute online sessions, again, this being the second of the three, and we'll welcome experts from France, from Europe, from the US and beyond to share their experiences and analysis of immersive projects. This cycle of ongoing discussions will inspire a roundtable that will follow up afterwards, and it's organized at Museum Connections 2021 in Paris. Lucky for us all, again, there's one more in this event series. It's on December 7th, where we'll be talking about immersion for cultural institutions, which technology for which need. On our last talk, the first episode in the series, we had a wonderful opportunity to speak with Chloe Jari, the co-founder of Lucid Realities, and she presented about the water lily obsession. We also spoke with Christiane Paul, the adjunct curator of digital art at the Whitney Museum of American Art, and she spoke about unexpected growth and AR/VR installation that had a lot to do with environmentalism. Now I'm very excited to introduce our first speaker for today. Her name's Hannah Bellicha. She's the project manager of the digital department of the Institut Français. Hannah is a digital project manager. Her work is focused on, the Institut Français is a public institution under the aegis of the French Ministry of Europe and the Foreign Affairs, and of the Ministry of Culture responsible for the French cultural actions abroad. Many are making digital culture central to its strategy. The Institut Français supports those in digital creation in their international development in close cooperation with the French Cultural Network overseas. Presently, she's particularly attentive to fostering the emergence of original and hybrid forms of creation and to combine new technologies with different forms of artistic expression. The Institut Français has recently released a catalog of VR immersive experiences, which she'll be presenting on momentarily. They promote some 40 French original works at the intersection of virtual reality, live entertainment, and visual arts. It aims to introduce these new types of performances and exhibitions to cultural venues like museums, which want to innovate and bring on new visitors. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Hannah. Please take it away.
Hi everyone, thank you. I'm going to share my presentation. Is that okay? Okay, so yes, I'm Hannah and I am working for the Institut Français, which is the public institution responsible for the French cultural actions abroad. It promotes French culture in the world with the support of the French Cultural Network overseas. For many years now, digital culture are at the center of our strategy. In close cooperation with the Cultural Network, we support French digital actors in their international development, and we also promote dialogue and collaboration with foreign professionals. We are very interested in the emergence of hybrid forms of creation that combine at the same time new technologies with different forms of artistic expression, like visual arts, theater, music, or dance, for example. We have recently published the catalog VR Immersive Experiences. This catalog presents some 40 French original creations at the intersection of virtual reality, live entertainment, and visual arts. Available in English, it is designed to introduce to you, to museums, to theater, to cultural centers, these new kinds of shows and exhibitions. These kinds of creation are very well received by the public, actually. They answer to a growing demand for cultural practices with strong digital dimensions. The problem is that they are most often presented in festivals, and they suffer from a lack of booking in more traditional venues. So with this catalog, we want to introduce these new art forms to facilitate their understanding and facilitate the booking and contribute in that way to the development of a market for this sector. The work presented in the catalog are said location-based entertainment. They mix the real and the virtual worlds by using equipment, stage design, art directions, and live performance to create a truly immersive environment for the public. The visitors are not only consumers, they are real actors of their experiences without any limitation of time, any limitation of space, history. The first part of the catalog is explains with different examples and successful stories how this form of art can attract new audiences, innovate to engage the visitors, and become a real tool to create mediation, fun, and impact. Then the catalog presents the 40 French creations. So here you can see the summary. It's organized in different categories: arts, dance, live performance, documentary, fiction, and games. It's the catalog doesn't aim to be exhaustive. It's a selection that highlights the originality and the diversity of the French creations. Each work is presented with a summary sheet that describes the user experience, the installations and the setup, the technical requirements and the human needs, the financial information. So you can have an overview of the process if you want to book it. You can see here another example. Here also, we really wish this catalog to serve as an inspiration to cultural venues and museums. To finish, in order to help the French productions that are developing new projects, the catalogs comes with a a form for cultural centers with some questions to better understand their capacities, their technical requirements, their booking methods, and expectation. So please feel free to download the catalog on our website, to answer to the form, and feel free if you have any questions. Thank you.
Hannah, thank you so much for presenting on that. What a wonderful resource for people to use. So thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment now to introduce our next speaker, Myriam Achard, Chief of New Media Partnerships and Public Relations at the Phi Center in Montreal. She's a driving force in communications. Myriam has more than 20 years of experience doing public relations. For the past 12 years, she has worked with Phoebe Greenberg to develop and promote the Canadian and international avant-garde art scene. She has been a director of PR and communications at the Phi Center since it opened in 2012. Since 2015, Myriam has been researching immersive and interactive works to showcase at the Phi Center as part of VR exhibits. She also curates the Phi Center's virtual reality garden programming. The installations have been invited to festivals and events such as the Marché du Film, Mutec JP, Future Play, IFP, and many more around the world. I'm so excited to hand it off to Myriam. Thank you so much.
Bonjour, everybody. Hello from sunny Montreal. So I'm going to share my screen. Just bear with me a second. You can see my screen? I guess. So yes, so my name is Myriam, and again, thank you very much for this invitation. Very happy to be with you today. What you see on the screen right now is the Phi Center, beautiful building located in the old part of Montreal. As Darragh said, we've been open since 2012. Phoebe Greenberg, cultural entrepreneur, is behind that project, but before opening the Phi Center, she opened a contemporary art foundation also in Montreal, actually located 2 minutes away from the Phi Center. We opened, as I said, our doors in 2012. My role evolved since the beginning. Right now, I'm in charge of new media partnerships and public relation. In a normal time, I'm traveling a lot. I go to different festivals, biennale, visit artist studio to be able to discover new works and to be able to show them in the center in Montreal. So what I'm going to do today is really like walk you through a little bit of some of the exhibitions we did and what are our future plans maybe for you, for those of you who could be interested. So since 2015, digital art exhibitions have been central to the Phi Center's programming, different exhibitions, all with the same goal: to invite visitors to experience the very best of what digital, interactive, and immersive works have to offer. Let me see. Why doesn't it work? Yes. So this exhibition was called Umaine. It was shown at the center, I think it was 2 years ago. There were some VR, there was some AI and interactive works. For those of you who are not familiar with the Phi Center, for us, contextualizations of all the works we are showing is highly important. So you would never see, for instance, at the center, just a few chairs and a few headsets. It's really important to bring a strong artistic direction to all the exhibition we are showing. And this is one way of like what you see on the screen, this is one of the exhibition we did. The next one, actually this slide was in Anna's presentation. It was the presentation of spheres at the center. And this actually opened some doors for us. We worked on the contextualization, on the design with Eliza, the director with Jess, the producer, we came up with this idea of those, like those circle, and this actually, this artistic direction made a lot of noises in the Achard community. People thought that this was a beautiful installation, and actually because of that installation, we were invited to recreate somehow this same design at the Rockefeller Center in New York for an installation that took place there for 6 weeks. And again, I want to say, I'm tempted to say 2 years ago, but it's a bit hard right now with I have like hard to figure out. It was 2 years, 3 years ago, and or 1 year ago. But for us, really, really important to be able to work with the creators, the directors, and the producers to bring them a beautiful artistic direction and contextualization of the work at the center. Next slide, if it shows up, this was actually last year. It was an exhibition called Cadaveric, where we were showing contemporary art through alternative lenses. So we were showing the pieces by the VR pieces by Marina Abramovich, Laurie Anderson, Olafo Eliasson, Anish Kapoor in one exhibition. For us, because we're so, we love contemporary art, and we wanted to show our audience how big contemporary artists, like the name I just said, were really interested now to integrate new technologies in their practice. Laurie Anderson, for me, is the best example. She already produced 3 VR pieces, and for her, it's clear that it's not going to stop. New technology are now part of her practice. The same for Marina Abramovich, and the same for Olafo Eliasson. On the right, like the room you see there, that was the piece. We actually dedicated an entire room to the pieces by Laurie Anderson. Actually, the room you saw before with spheres is the room we dedicated for Laurie Anderson. Next slide. Why is it not working so well? Hold on. This is again coming back to Laurie's pieces. We recreated actually an airplane, the inside of an airplane, to be able to show a loft, to the moon, chalk room. Again, really, really important for us to contextualize the works of the artists, and to work with them on putting together a beautiful and strong artistic direction. 2020 was supposed to be for us the year where all those hours I spent on airplanes traveling, go and meet people, meet artists, meet curators. 2020 was the year where Phi was going to explode internationally. We were supposed to have an exhibition in New York. We were supposed to have an exhibition in Milan. We were supposed to have an exhibition in London. Then came COVID. So for me, I don't want to say that it's canceled. I just see it maybe like those exhibitions, those projects we had will take place in 2021, hopefully in different locations. But the confinement did something great for us. Is really we needed to find a way to reach our audience. They were not able to come to us anymore. They were not allowed to come to the center. How do we go to them? And that's where we came with this new project called VR2Go. And I know I see Darragh, she wants to interrupt, but I'll just quick. So VR2Go is a project that we launched during the confinement. Again, it was a way for us to go into people's house because they were not able to come to us. So we put together this project where we delivered Oculus Go headset to people's home with choices of 10 films that I curated. People could keep the headsets for about 48 hours. So the entire family, for instance, could watch the 10 films. films, and then we were picking up back, and then obviously cleaning process, clean box and everything, and then it would go to another home. So we have that in Montreal. We launched it in Quebec City. We are in discussions with other cities in the world. Many projects to come next year, but that will be for another time. And I'll stop share my screen.
Myriam, thank you so much. Those are some very interesting solutions, specifically the one you just mentioned, VR2Go. I love that. And we have to find ways to still push mixed reality forward and to find ways to talk about it in an artful sense. And it is difficult now, but I admire that you are thinking outside the box and cleaning in the box, and it's a lot to work with, but you're doing it, and I admire that. As well as thank you for sharing with all of us your views on how to curate these works and what your plans are for the future. 2020 has been so difficult, and with 2021 just a few weeks away, here's hoping that we can all get back on track with merging these worlds a little bit easier. Up next, I would love to introduce our final speaker, Mike Jones. He's the senior producer of Marshmallow Laser Feast. Mike has a reputation for driving forward ambitious work in a variety of forms: live events, art installations, digital media, and more. One of the driving forces behind Marshmallow Laser Feast, he demonstrates a unique vision for the future of creative experiences. Mike has produced the critically acclaimed work Tree Hugger, having premiered at Tribeca Film Festival in 2017, and other mixed reality works too, including Sweet Dreams, that was at Sundance in 2019, the MLF's latest sold-out experience, We Live in an Ocean of Air, at the Sachi Gallery in 2019, and others. Mike, I'd love to hand it over to you now. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Nice to see everyone. I'll start sharing my screen now. There we go. So I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about myself, a little bit about the studio and our process, and then most about the piece We Live in an Ocean of Air. So I'm a producer at MLF, and my intro that I've just been given, thank you very much, tells you a bit enough about me. We're quite chameleonic as a studio. We're described as a variety of different terms: immersive studio, artist collective, artist studio, technologist, experiential collective. I think what that allows us to do is to sort of morph and blend and deliver quite different and dynamic pieces of work, which you'll see in this show reel here. So across the show reel, you'll see a variety of pieces of technology: lights, robots, projection mapping, will.i.am. Bono comes up in a minute. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. No. Oh, sorry. But what you'll see a lot in the show reel is particularly lots of people who are at the heart of the work. So we always try and engage our audience. We always try and create real-time pieces of work. And the point of that, the real key behind that for us as a studio is if we can create this real kind of sensory wonder and immersion, and we hope we can create agency, and with that agency, we hope we can create empathy. And with that empathy, we hope we're really kind of delivering work to like the core of people and their heart and soul. And particularly with kind of our later works and our future trajectory to deal with a lot of work to do with like the natural world and the planet. We feel that using technology, as you know, it's kind of a bit of a dichotomy, but using technology to re-engage people with the natural world is something that's kind of quite powerful and just really apparent, you know, taking people who mostly live in cities and putting them outside in the forest and trying to re-engage them with the natural world. I'll skip on just in case I get shouted at for time wasting. So we live, the world beyond the limits of our senses is a place that we live in, basically. This is this liminal space where we do most of our work. And this phrase really highlights the line of inquiry of our business. We see our practice as kind of cutting edge storytelling paired with technological expression, and think of our work as kind of thorough, well thought out, but there's always a desire to play and have fun and see where that leads. As I've said, you know, we're kind of hard to categorize, have a quite chameleonic appearance, but again, that's because we sort of, we look at other disciplines and we take from those and merge those and combine with ours. maybe collaborate's a better word than take, but art, science, technology, experience, they're all kind of really key to what we do. And we see what we do ultimately is this kind of what we're talking about now is immersive, and this field that we sit in that prior to COVID we saw ourselves really flourishing in, but ultimately we still see it as our future, whether hopefully that's in physical spaces. Also that'll be online, which was a plan for a bit further down the line, but we're having to bring forward a bit. So I'll talk to you about the piece mentioned that we delivered at the Sachi Gallery, We Live in Ocean of Air. Much like Myriam, God knows when it was, but it launched on the 7th of December 2018, so almost 2 years ago. The project really aligns with our trajectory. We saw it as our next big piece of work that we wanted to make for us, but we also saw it as an opportunity to monetize what we do. What we do is fairly niche and new, and our business model can be a bit like this. So how do we create a piece of work that we hope will tour lots of destinations around the world? It'll cover the cost to make it. So it'll then bring a return into the studio that allows us to make the next one. We looked at various different kind of business models, film, commissioning, sponsorship, and we kind of blended those all together to ultimately make this piece. We launched it at the Sachi Gallery, ultimately a big cultural organisation here in London. And we felt if we did some research, if we can find 10 of these over the lifetime of the work, three and a half years when we first originally planned this, then halfway through that, it paid off the capital costs, and then the next 5, it kind of generally had a return into the studio. But also, what we found out subsequently about distributing immersive work is that it's not that straightforward, and we should have done a lot more research prior to launching this piece. In the end, we just had to make it and deliver it because we committed to the time frame. I'll show you a little video on the work, and I'll try not to click off it again. But ultimately, the piece itself is it's a virtual reality piece. It's untethered, it's shared, 12 people every 10 minutes in groups of 6. And it follows, it shows the symbiotic relationship between yourself and the natural world. And that's visualized through breath. So we visualize this invisible entity that's around us, quite poignant at this point in time. But ultimately, creative aside, the business behind it was how many people can we get through per day? How many tickets can we sell? What kind of revenue can we generate? And we sold, we had capacity for 228 tickets a day, and we were originally scheduled to start on the 7th of December and finish on the 20th of January. And we extended it 2 times, and we finished on the 5th of May. We sold out, and we sold 28,000 tickets. But I think to touch on kind of Myriam's point about the scenography, we talk about our work in tiers of immersion. So you'll see from the kind of gallery space you saw there, and here are just some figures about it, that it is put on in a traditional gallery, and the best experience you can have is in the headset. But the headset's very limited due to the one-in, one-out nature. So what can we do in that environment to create experiences for everybody? So we had some 300,000 people through that just went through the space. There were benches, bean bags, people could sit and watch the performance of the people in front of them, and they could also watch the projection screen. There was an ambient soundscape and also the smell system that was there for them. Here are some kind of audience facts that I think are interesting, particularly for organizations who are looking to put on this kind of work and drive new audiences to come to their institutions. But I think the bottom one's perhaps the most interesting, that basically most of the people who came to see Ocean of Air came to see it because it was there, not because they were coming to see the Sachi Gallery. So we drove a huge footfall through for the museum and brought in a new kind of audience of people, all walks of life, all ages. Everyone tried it. There was no kind of entry barrier kind of thing. But I suppose to touch on, immersive distribution, this is perhaps not the best example of how to do it because we launched that work 2 years ago now. Obviously COVID's around, But we hadn't done enough research about where it would go and the places it would present. And what we've learned now is kind of like, it's a bit of a Wild West out there. We've gradually had to kind of be the icebreaker and find organizations, much like the Phi Centre, Next Museum in Amsterdam that's just launched, places in around the world, those kind of niche museums that kind of really believe in this kind of work. And, you know, we've had to like put it on a boat, and we're just waiting for it to like touch ground and kind of be that next piece of work that kind of finally gets there. You know, it had taken, after we finished in the Sachi Gallery in May, we've worked the whole time we were there, and we were about to, just before COVID, so February, announce kind of 4 tour dates for it. But unfortunately, we kind of like never hit ground. So much like everyone else, we're just in this holding pattern. We believe in the work, we believe in its power, and its ability to kind of empathize with people, and the power that can do for the natural world and the environment around us. And we just hope it can tour soon, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing that and for having a sense of humor about where we're all at, but also still going on and creating wonderful work. I really like that boat graphic. It sums it up well. And we do have to have a sense of humor as we innovate. With great challenge comes great innovation. I truly believe that, and I'm sure everyone else on this call does too. We have the opportunity to continue to build the future of museums and work in new innovation and new technologies every day with every new exhibition that comes along, because that's what the future is, and we're building it together. A special thank you to all the organizers of this who I listed before, wonderful institutions, the representatives of them that have worked tirelessly to put this together. Special thank you to the speakers today, Hannah and Myriam and Mike, for the work that you're all doing to advocate and build all of these new technologies into exhibitions, into experiences, and help onboard audiences that will inevitably come to embrace all of these wonderful new ways of seeing the world and interacting with it. We've learned about a lot today. Fortunately, this entire talk has been recorded. You can find it on YouTube. This is, again, the second of a 3-part series. The next event is being hosted on December 7th at the same time. There's an Eventbrite link. It is, again, free. I'm sure all these resources can be shared on social media and possibly here in the chat. So reach out if you have any questions to any of the organizers. And I just want to say thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. And everyone, I hope you have the most wonderful day. Thank you.